Good morning and welcome to the video for Tuesday, May the 12th for 4th grade. This is going to be the beginning of our last lesson of this chapter. And so we are going to be taking everything that we have worked with for unit conversions and try to solve problems where we have to convert different units of measurement to other units of measurement, or possibly work with both units of measurement at the same time. So one of the ways that we can solve those types of problems is to go ahead and convert to make everything the same unit. And so that's going to be an example that we have for our unlock the problem. So we would be converting 5 feet into inches by multiplying by 12. That is going to give us 60 inches. If we add our other 10 inches, that's going to give us 70, which would be our answer that we would write in down here. So we can add two different types of measurements together. We just need to be careful about the answer for the smaller unit of measurement, making sure that we don't have enough of those to have to carry a group, or knowing when we would need to carry over a group. So I'm going to talk you through this, and I'm going to give you a different example where we would have to carry and talk about how we might do that. So to start with, we're supposed to do 45 minutes plus 10 minutes. That gives us 55 minutes. They wrote it here on the right. And then we can do 3 hours plus 2 hours to get 5 hours, 55 minutes. And that would be our answer for that. Now, if instead of 45 minutes, we change this to 55 minutes, then we have one of two options. And so this is going to depend on your comfort level working with the math facts that we've already worked on. So sometimes it's multiplication facts, sometimes it's going to be just simple conversion. And so if I did 55 plus 10, I'm actually going to end up with 65 minutes if I do that. And so at this point, what I would suggest is if you're really comfortable with doing all of these conversions and so forth, I would go ahead and work on carrying a 1 here and changing this 60 minutes out of our 65 into a new hour now. You can also do it at the end, and we're going to get the same answer. So we would get 6 hours and 5 minutes, okay? So the other way that we could do that is to go ahead and do the conversion at the end. So let's say I got 5 hours and 65 minutes, just adding it straight up this way, okay? So you can do that, and that's what I would recommend for quite a few of my students in this class, especially as you are still working to get more comfortable with these facts. So you can go ahead and at the end of the problem, let's say, oh, we have our 60 minutes, that makes an hour. Let's go ahead and remove that out. And so then we would change this from 5 hours to 6 hours, and we would have 6 hours and 5 minutes. So that's two different ways that we could do that to accomplish the same thing. And I'm fine with either one of them as long as it's something that you're comfortable with and you can use it correctly to find the answer. So let's talk about that in terms with the bottom question here. So if I went from 5 hours and 55 minutes and added an extra 5 minutes, then we would end up with 5 hours and 60 minutes, which would become 6 hours. So that I'm giving you an example of another way that we would do that as we go through that. So for number 2, we're working with subtraction. And anytime we're subtracting, we have to follow the first, most important rule. We have to have a larger number on top than what we're taking away. And if we don't, then we have to regroup, okay? So when we're regrouping using unit measurements, we have to understand what our conversions are. So for this problem, we would have to take a foot away here, which would change this to 5 feet, and add 12 inches to the 6 inches that we started with. That's going to give us 18 inches here. And so now we can do 18 minus 7 to get 11 inches here. And again, they give you that down at the bottom. And then we would do 5 minus 1 to get the number of feet, and that would give us 4 feet. And so our answer for our subtraction problem would be 4 feet, 11 inches. For this one, we don't have to regroup. So I went ahead and wrote it out as a problem that looks similar to what we had above. We have we have a larger number here than we do on the bottom, and so we can go ahead and do our subtraction problem. So we would end up with 2 pounds, 3 ounces with that. For number 1 at the bottom, we're having to multiply. So we would do 2,000 times 2 to get 4,000 pounds. If you can do that in your head without having to write it down and then add our other amount, I will allow you to do that if they don't give you space to work out the problem. So we would be looking at 4,000 plus 500 to get 4,500 pounds. And so I've written a lot of these down already just to save time because it is going to take a long enough time, even though I'm only going through number 13, to go ahead and talk through everything. So pause the video, work on it on your own if you need to, and then when you're ready, hit play. So for number 2, I'm going to be doing 1 yard times 3 feet. 3 feet plus 2 feet gives me 5 feet. If you can do that in your head, don't worry about writing stuff down to the side. 2 cups in a pint gives me 6 cups for this, plus 1 cup equals 7 cups. 7 days in a week times 3 gives me 21 days, plus 1 day gives me 22 days. For this one, I can just add straight up. I'm going to be smaller than my 16 ounces in a pound, so I don't have to worry about carrying a group of ounces over and changing it to a pound. For number 6, I do have to worry about regrouping, so I have 4 quarts in a gallon, so I'm going to take away a gallon, add 4 quarts to the 2 that I started with, and then I can do my subtraction. For number 5, I don't have to worry about regrouping because I have a larger number here, so I'm going to have 5 minutes and then 2 hours. So 2 hours, 5 minutes would be the answer for that. For number 8, we are working with 60 minutes in an hour, so 60 plus 15 would give us 75. Again, if you can do that in your head without having to write additional things down to the side, that is perfectly fine to do that. For number 9, we have 2 pints in a quart. So 4 times 2 is going to give me 8. 8 plus 2 gives me 10. We have 12 inches in a foot, so 12 times 10 gives me 120. 120 plus 10 gives me 130. For number 11, you will notice that I crossed this out. I'm not going to let you do that yet, but as we get into 5th and definitely into 6th grade, if we have something that's going to cancel out, I will let you just go ahead and line through it so you don't accidentally try to do anything with it. So 300 minus 300, we're not going to have any pounds as part of our measurement at the end. Unless they wanted us to convert our answer to pounds, and they don't ask us to do that. So 2 tons minus 1 ton gives us 1 ton. This part ends up being null and void. So for number 12, I've given the starting amount, okay? So I have a number of gallons here. So I'm going to have 18 gallons if I add straight down. I'm going to have 17 cups if I add straight down. There are 16 cups in a gallon. So 4 quarts in a gallon. A gallon is made up of, a quart is made up of 4 cups. And so we can take 16 away from here, which leaves us with 1 cup, and then add that gallon in here. And so that will give us a final answer of 19 gallons and 1 cup. For this one, I'm going to have to take my 16 ounces in a pound, add that to my 6, and change this to 22 ounces to do 22 minus 12, which is going to give me 10 ounces. And then I would be doing 6 minus 2 to get 4 pounds. So my final answer is going to be 4 pounds, 10 ounces. And I'm not going to work on the problem solving questions because I know this has already taken a sizable amount of time. Just to talk through things. So for the homework, Risen Christ students, I'm going to ask you to do the evens. So that's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And so some of these you are going to need to regroup to solve. Some of them you are going to need to write in a specific unit of measurement. So for instance, we are going to need to convert our number of weeks to days to be able to add that to the number of days that we have to get our answer. So things like that. For instance, if you are having to work on number 7, if you are a student that's not one of mine and you're assigned that problem, you're going to want to keep in mind how many ounces we have in a pound as we go ahead and take away a pound here and add that many ounces in a pound to the number of ounces given so that we can go ahead and subtract. On the back, let's see, I don't see anything too terribly confusing. Again, we're just working with conversions again. For number 3, we want to compare are decimals. And so we worked on that a very long time ago. So think about what the relationship between 5/10 and 5/100 would be as you write a comparison using inequality symbols. For number 4, we're going to classify the triangle by the size of its angles. So as a reminder, if we have only acute angles, we would have an acute triangle. If we have a triangle that has a right angle, we are going to have a right triangle. If we have a triangle that has an obtuse angle, we would have an obtuse triangle. So that's your suggestion for how to solve that one. For number 5, we are just converting the number of years times the number of weeks in a year to get the number of weeks. So 52 weeks in a year times 3 will give you your answer. And for the last one, we are working with elapsed time. So we're finishing at 10:50 a.m. We need to count backward 1 hour, 20 minutes. So that will help inform what you need to do there. So those are the lesson and problems for the homework. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out in Google Classroom. I tried to keep this video as short as I could by writing things in because it was going to take about 16, 17 minutes otherwise. So hope you appreciate the time saved, even though it's probably looking a little different. You probably would need to pause the video and work through some things yourself, or make sure you stick around to listen to the explanations to get the full benefit out of this compared to some other lessons. So hope you have a great day. The homework video for this will be coming out on Wednesday, and then for my fourth graders, Wednesday is going to be your review day, so you will be needing to check in with me either on the Zoom call. Again, that part is not required. It is required to check in with me. It's not required to be on the Zoom call. So again, we're still having confusion with that for some reason after almost, 4 or 5 weeks of doing this now. So just make sure you read closely the assignment in Google Classroom. I shouldn't have people showing up saying, oh, I have to be here. You don't. You just have to check in with me, tell me what you're working on for review. One of the ways you can do that is through doing the Zoom calls. So hope you have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.